Huge thanks to Auto Navigator from Capital One for sponsoring this video. Car culture is awesome. It brings people together, teaches you new things, and is overall a great environment. However, there's some basic rules I've learned in the 10 years of being involved deep in the car scene. So here it is, 5 things you should never do if you're into cars. Number 1, I'm better than you. We all know that one guy. The one at Cars and Coffee that shows up in the exotic car and assumes he's better at driving or just simply better at life than you and looks down on everybody. But with my experience, this is also the exact same guy that gets beat by the budget car hero Miata driver around the track with 1/6 the horsepower. This is especially when you are going to a meet for your very first time. People might love your car, but it's your character people react to more than you think. That beautiful car that you pulled up in, exotic or not, now all of a sudden seems pretty ugly. Number 2, I'm a good driver. This lines up with the last rule we just talked about. I've noticed over the year that somebody driving civilized in a fast sports car or tuner, it's almost more impressive than driving crazy through traffic. It shows discipline and self-control, and it also shows character in a way where they know the time and place to get on their car. Fewer people around, more remote location. But I feel like it's always the people who claim to be amazing drivers, or the car guys blasting down a main street with a 25-mile-an-hour sign trying to show off to a random bystander who just ends up thinking you are a danger to society. Don't be that guy. A good rule is to always remember those videos on social media of people having accidents trying to be a show-off after Cars and Coffee. You don't want to be them, do you? Number 3 is a classic. If the sign says there's no burnouts at the meet, do not do it. Except with 2 exceptions. One of my exceptions is if it's a sanctioned event that has an organized burnout contest, dude, go for it. Shred it till they're absolutely gone to the wheel. I do not care. Or the alternative, which is a little bit more rare. What's an example of this? Anywhere in Puerto Rico. Car meets are extremely hard to hold and keep. You are trying to earn the trust and respect of the police if your intentions are good. Back when I helped form a meet years ago in Virginia, the car scene was already small and hard to keep around. However, after printing signs, banners, telling people face to face that they have nothing to prove, it only takes one. It was 3 years of hard work, all gone because of one guy. This should be obvious, but I feel like this is getting even worse nowadays. There's a lot more peer pressure at night meets in my area to drive like a hoon, and then the younger drivers are all surprised when they get caught. For example, after Import Alliance one year, there was an after meet at night that people were claiming that it was the ThatDudeinBlue after meet. Believe it or not, I had nothing to do with it. So when people started running from the cops, doing donuts in intersections for the clout you can imagine, I wasn't the biggest fan of my own meet. So now that behavior that day was tied to my name. On a much smaller scale, just think about the organizers that worked hard to make the actual event happen. I think a really good way to prevent this kind of behavior is to prevent the boredom of the stereotypical, let's just stand around in a parking lot. You want something to do. At your next organized event, try and spice things up a bit. For example, Auto Navigator from Capital One brought up this epic RC track to Caffeine and Octane, which is our local Cars and Coffee event essentially, in Atlanta, and kept people entertained for hours on end. It was surrounded by beautiful cars, so they could go look at the cars and then just keep enjoying the meet, rather than taking one lap around the parking lot going, I saw everything, and then they leave. My girlfriend and I, knowing this race was coming up, have been trash talking each other for days on end.
Go!
Oh my god! But thankfully in the battle between that dude in blue and that girl in red, I came out on top. My point is that having things to do prevents people from getting bored. All right, so here I am in front of the car of the show at Caffeine Octane. Absolutely beautiful Subaru, completely clean, almost flawless paint job pretty much, or actually flawless paint job. Got the modern STI seats in it as well.
Started off as just a bone stock 2001, and first thing I did was do an STI swap with an 05. So we swapped all the running gear, the full interior, all the wiring harness.
That's what I noticed first was the interior, because I'm like, that's usually in a Blaubai or a Hawkeye, it seems like.
Yeah. And it just, most of the ones I'd seen were all kind of patched together, so I wanted one that looked about as stock as I could. So same thing with the door cards and all, made everything match.
It looks immaculate, man. You really did an amazing job.
Thank you.
CJ actually likes the Subaru.
I like that thing.
Yeah, dude, I hope so. It's a little bit harder to do at your local night meet that isn't as official, but if you are an owner of a large car event, take this into consideration. That's why the Stance Limbo competitions have always been a success. It brings people together in a team environment rather than feeling like a bunch of cliques standing around. Speaking of Caffeine and Octane and Auto Navigator's incredible RC track, I just want to give a huge thanks to Auto Navigator from Capital One for sponsoring this video. Auto Navigator from Capital One was developed to add transparency to the car buying process, and it gives you the ability to see if you pre-qualify in just minutes. Now back to the trusty car guy rule list thing. Number 4 is a big one. Don't lean on other people's cars without asking or touch them without asking. This is a big one, and I'm actually totally guilty of it. A few years back, I leaned on what I thought was my friend's car who had always been around and gave me permission. I heard somebody yell some curse words at me from inside the car, thinking it was my friend, and I playfully jabbed back at him verbally with some remarks. But here's the plot twist. It wasn't my friend's car. It wasn't until later I got hammered with hate comments about being a prick. Needless to say, I felt awful and I was in the wrong. I could have avoided the situation altogether had I just not leaned on anybody's car in general. I knew better. In fact, one night in Virginia Beach back in 2013, I saw one guy pull up in a GT500. Then this random dude I had never seen before came up to the engine bay and literally started unplugging sensors and things and tinkering with the motor. The owner came up and politely asked him to stop. Unfortunately, this guy was just looking for trouble and punched the owner in the face. We ended up making sure the other guy was okay after we pulled the other guy back. It was just a very strange situation. Moral of the story, don't touch people's things without asking. Number 5, don't be a know-it-all. You do not know everything. Nothing pet peeves me more than somebody in confidence blurting out some fact that is completely untrue or wrong. Go to a meet and learn. Go to a car event and learn. Meet people. Go up to cars you've never seen before and ask questions and broaden your horizon. Also, don't clam up like it's some kind of tribal event. Everybody seems to stay in their little pack in a giant open parking lot, and it's almost comical. Car meets are the easiest place to practice social skills because you already know everybody is into the same thing you are. These are just some of the rules I've come up with over the years, and so far, so good. So what do you guys think about this list? Do you think it's helpful? Do you think it's ridiculous? Let me know in the comment section below. And on that note, I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I will see you guys next time. Huge thanks to Auto Navigator from Capital One, and download the app today from the Apple Store and check out the website at www.capitalone.com/cars. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.